Good morning and welcome to Palm Springs Life Market Watch. I'm Tally Fantini with Palm Springs Life. Today we're discussing inventory. And to discuss this very important topic, we have two experts, Mike McDonald with Market Watch LLC and Walter Neal with Franklin Loan Center. I'd like to thank our corporate sponsors of Market Watch, Sunrise Company, Toscana Country Club, Andalusia Country Club, Franklin Loan Center, Palm Springs Regional Association of Realtors, and California Desert Association of Realtors. Before we get started today, please watch a couple clips from our corporate sponsors.
I'm Julie Bloom. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for Sunrise Company. We've been so proud to be involved with Market Watch over the years. The seminars are great and provide so much information to all of us who listen. We hope to see you all back at Toscana soon when we can meet in person.
My name is Warren Smith. I am the Vice President of Sales at Toscana Country Club. The sales at Toscana have been amazing, unbelievable. I've never witnessed anything like this in my whole career. We had 80 sales last year, and so far this year we have 21. And 7 of those are resales, and there's 14 new sales. The final phase that we've opened is on Savannah. They're mostly southern-facing lots over water, great views of the mountains. Our 2 newest plans, which are our 641 and our 531 plans, they're primarily designed to go on north-facing lots where the pool goes in the courtyard. That way you get southern and westerly sun on your pool. If you would like more information on Toscana, go to our website, toscanacc.com. Come and see us at our model home center. We're open every day.
The sales at Andalusia have been absolutely fantastic. We ended the year with 80 sales last year, and we've started the year already with 25 sales. We're about ready to release 2 new areas at Andalusia, south-facing home sites on Marbella, which are spectacular. They're some of the best in the community, overlooking the 18th green, a waterfall. They're absolutely spectacular. We're also going to be releasing home sites on Almeria, and those have beautiful views of the golf course and will be fabulous for our new larger homes, the 300 and 400 series. To learn more about Andalusia, you can visit our website at andalusiacc.com. You can also stop by the sales center. It's open daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to view our model homes. We really appreciate all the support from the realtor community at both Toscana and Andalusia. At both communities, we have a great program for new build homes and encourage you to register your clients online and then accompany them on their first visit to either community.
Good morning, Market Watch family, and welcome to Market Watch's first event in 2021. Yes, we all survived 2020. I hope you all finished 2020 on a high note and are looking forward to a fantastic 2021. I would like to share with you Franklin Loan Center's wristband motto for 2021. We do this every year, and we get these made, and we all get behind a certain word that can help get us through and inspire us through 2021. Last year's word was marathon pace, and boy, was that very prophetic, because last year was a marathon pace. But 2021 is definitely going to be a mind shift change, and we're going to get out of 2021 what we put into it. So I like to use the word extraordinary in this manner. If you take the word extra off of ordinary, then you're just ordinary. No one in life wants to be ordinary, but everyone wants to be extraordinary. So Franklin Loan Center is laser focused on making sure your lending experience isn't ordinary in 2021, but extraordinary. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why we are committed to making sure that we will support you at the highest level in 2021. Number 1, we're going to go the extra mile for you. We want a long-term business partnership with you. This is not something we're looking to do on a per transaction. This is something we want to support you in your career in 2021, past January, February, March, months, years. We've been in the desert for 31 years. We've been very fortunate to have the support of Desert 31 years, so I'm thankful for that. And I want to encourage everyone to continue to reach out to Franklin Loan Center for any of your mortgage needs. 2, we will do the extra difficult loans for you, because at the end of the day, everyone can do the easy ones. But the good companies, they roll their sleeves up and they find a way to get the hard ones done, because that's what's important, not only for your business for getting transactions closed, but that's what makes a difference for your borrowers and our clients as well. 3, we are determined to do extra rescue loans for you. Now you might ask, Walter, what is a rescue loan? I appreciate you asking. A rescue loan is when Franklin Loan Center says yes when other people say no. And we do a lot of rescue loans when other banks are telling people, no, we can't get you into your dream home. You cannot buy that second home. We find a way to get it done time and time again. We have a very, very wide net that catches as many opportunities as possible. And so always remember, if someone's telling your client no, we like to do the hard stuff and we like to find a way to get it done. Give us a shot so maybe we can rescue a client for you in a relationship. 4, we will continue to add extra unique loan programs to our mortgage lineup. And so what this means is we have proprietary products that other banks don't have. We have a jumbo portfolio product that we say yes when other big banks will say no. We have a non-QM product lineup, which allows us to use bank statement programs and get really aggressive when other banks will not as well. We have a proprietary bridge loan program. So there's many people who have money tied up in other properties and they like to buy something now, especially with tight inventory, so they don't lose the opportunity, but their money's tied up in another home. So we can give them a bridge loan to then use that money for a down payment on another home. So that could be a difference maker for you in 2021. And finally, we plan to be extra special to you and your clients in 2021 because you're worth it, and we want to make sure you feel the love and appreciation for Franklin Loan Center. You know, one of our core values at Franklin Loan Center is a lighthouse, and I feel like wherever Franklin Loan Center, the communities we serve, it's important for us to inspire and be positive and help the real estate community get through these challenging times, challenging days, challenging loans, and we will do our best to support you at the highest level in 2021. I can't wait to see. I know many of you had records in 2020. I'm hopeful we can help you to break those records in 2021 and have an amazing, successful year. So from all of my colleagues at Franklin Loan Center, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the support that you have given us. And I want you to know we are here for you to make sure your 2021 is special. You're going to absolutely love today's presentation. It's fantastic information, and it will help your buyers and sellers' mindsets to be able to make decisions moving forward in 2021 during these hectic, crazy times. So on that note, God bless you all and have a beautiful 2021 and a healthy and joyful one as well. From all of us at Franklin Loan Center, bye-bye.
Those were really great clips. Thank you. Before I introduce Mike McDonald, I'd like to just remind you that you can type in questions through the chat in the top left corner of your screen. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Please welcome Mike McDonald with MarketWatch LLC.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to be with you again. This is our 6th or 7th Tale of Nine Cities presentation, which is our summary. We summarize what happened the previous year and then go over our forecast. This is a very unusual year in many ways. One is we usually see you live and all your smiling, shiny faces looking down at you, and that's very encouraging. We don't have that this year. We have a webinar. Hopefully we'll get back to the live presentation relatively soon. But today, this year, we have something very, very unusual happening. And we have to tell you about it. I think it's a tremendous business opportunity. All the information I'm going to show you leads to one final important point, which we'll get into, okay, and it is basically a once-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunity. I'll tell you why when we get there, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the summary, okay? I'm going to summarize the presentation up front, and then the presentation will be explaining how we came to these points, or summary points, or statements, okay? but sometimes giving it to you up front is much better so you know where we're going, okay? You're not in any mystery. So I'm going to cover these 7 or 8 points here, and then we'll get into explaining why, okay? First summary point, higher sales and record low inventory are causing bidding wars and surging home prices. That's the first thing. I think many of you know that already. I'll show you the latest number because it's always good to quantify these things. We might know they're happening, but how much? It becomes the question. Second point is inventory is low in all cities and price ranges. We know that inventory is at record lows. I think the latest numbers are like about 1,100. Normally it's like 2,500 or 3,000. But it's down across all price ranges, but for different reasons, okay? Sales are up in high-priced homes, unchanged in lower-priced homes. So the surge in sales is primarily in the higher-priced areas, not in the lower-priced homes. New listings, however, are down in lower-priced homes and the same in higher-priced homes. So the cause, you can kind of consider inventory like a tub of water. Tub of water has a sink where water goes out, and then it has a source, water coming in. And the water coming in are the number of new listings coming in, and the sink represents sales or the exiting of homes out of the inventory pile as they're being sold off. And you can have that come down, the overall level of the water come down for 2 reasons. One, it can come down because it's draining at a normal rate, but it's not being filled up at the normal rate. So it's coming down. Or you could have it's being filled up at the normal rate. Number of new listings coming into the tub is at normal levels. However, the sales rate is much higher, so the water level is coming down. Those 2 factors are in play, but at different segments of the market. And we'll show you how. We'll show you this as we go forward, okay? Surprisingly, and this caught us by surprise, we didn't expect this, inventory is down equally, the same percentage. The water level is down at both levels of both owner-occupied homes, people who live, own a home to live in it primarily, and remote owner homes. We thought that wouldn't be so. We thought that there might be a drop in listings of owner-occupied homes because people didn't want to open their homes up for people to come traipsing through with this pandemic problem, okay? But we thought maybe people who have second homes who live elsewhere would list their home with an agent. And since they're not there, they don't really care who's coming through. So we thought that you would see the drop primarily in the owner-occupied homes, but it's not so. It's across both spectrums, okay? The effect of CLR. Now, we just made a simple acronym. CLR stands for COVID listing reluctance. In other words, the reluctance of what we just explained, the reluctance of individuals to open up a home. They might want to sell, but they don't want to put it on the market just yet. They're reluctant to list it until things get better, okay? And we believe that this tremendous drop in inventory is primarily a result of this factor. If we're right about that, it's going to open up a fantastic opportunity because we call that surge, in other words, this pent-up number of homes to be listed that aren't coming onto the market. You have this pent-up demand. That's not quite, this pent-up supply, I guess you might call it. And at some point, once people feel comfortable, that's going to be unleashed on the market. The question is, from a business point of view, who's going to get those listings? If you know what's coming, and we put a little arrow here, a unique opportunity, very, very important. Prepare for a post-COVID listing surge starting this summer, going into next year, in all price ranges, but primarily in lower priced homes. Okay, how to take advantage of that? It becomes very important because it's one of the, very seldom do you have an opportunity to know something like this is coming. Here we think we do. So you can plan a marketing operation to garner or acquire those listings. Then the second problem is how do you sell them? Okay, but you got to get the listing before you have that second problem. That's probably the most important point of today's presentation. On the home prices should remain firm even with a surge in listings. In other words, this increase in supply of homes should not cause prices to come down. We think they might stop going up for a while, but there's no damage to the housing market from increased number of listings. Let's see here if I can make this arrow visible so that doesn't go away. So home prices should remain firm even with the surge in listings. There are no signs yet of a housing bubble. We get asked that quite a bit. Are housing prices getting too high? Are they getting too high? Are they getting too high? No, from almost every angle, there is no sign that we have any kind of housing bubble like we had back in 2003 and 2005 in that period. So that's a very encouraging. Homeowners and potential home buyers should feel comfortable buying at the current level. We're not in a housing bubble like we were almost 20 years ago. New home construction in 2021 will still not fill Valley inventory shortfalls. There was a belief, we thought that there's a possibility that with a shortage of inventory, besides this expected surge, that some of the inventory supply of homes could be supplied by new homes. We did a very detailed count of the lots available going into this year. It doesn't seem like it's going to work, okay? So we're not going to get help from the new home market supplying more homes. Okay, so let's start the presentation by first reviewing the 2020 Valley housing numbers, and then we'll get back to the summary again at the very end. Okay, the first slide has to do with home prices. Now this chart is I'll take my time here to go over this for you. This is about an 18-year time frame. Each one of these hash marks is a year. This goes back 2004, 2005. This was the bubble we talked about before. Here was the housing crash that occurred. This is what nobody wants to see again. Housing bottomed about 2011. Now these are detached homes. This is the Coachella Valley median detached home price. Currently that has risen up to at the end of the year, $520,000 median value throughout the whole valley, okay? And it's up 22% from last year. Now, nobody expected this. Nobody expected this to happen during a pandemic, but it happened, okay? And it's good it happened because it's given us a lot of price cushion, and it's actually made up for a lot of lost ground. We were lagging behind here, other areas of California. It's nice to have caught up. We're way ahead of the prices we were back here for the median for the whole valley. Again, these are for detached homes. Let's take a look at attached. Attached is still lagging. They have not caught up. You can see, and by the way, you can see a number of things. The cyclical nature of housing, especially in the attached market, they reach a peak sometime around May and come back down. It hit a low in September, October, and come back up again. However, last year, we did see a rise of 17.9%. Average attached home, median value of the attached home in the valley is $329,000, up 17.9%. Now let's look at by city, these numbers. This is for the whole valley. Let's look at city by city. Actually we have 10 cities. We've included Bermuda Dunes in this. Here we are. Here are the cities: La Quinta, Palm Springs, Desert Hot Springs, Cathedral City, Indian Wells, Palm Desert, Indio, City of Coachella, and Rancho Mirage. Okay, now we didn't have Bermuda Dunes. We have it in some of the other statistics, not in the pricing here. It's a smaller area, so that's okay. Now here are the ending price, the median price at the end of December, price a year ago, and they're ranked by the 12-month percentage change. The largest percentage change in detached homes, okay, again, this is detached homes, was in La Quinta. The prices of the median detached home was up 27.5%. Palm Springs, 22.9%. Over here, by the way, we have the percentage above or below the all-time high made in 2006. This was the all-time high during that bubble period, which we showed you earlier. And Palm Springs is now 37% above that high. Cathedral City is 5%. Indio is 1%. A couple of other cities are rather close. So it was a very good year, city by city. The worst city really was, if you call it worst, it was only up 5.3%. So it ranged from 27.5 down to 5.3%. Now let's take a look at attached homes, condos and attached homes. Price gains were smaller. Indian Wells had a 12-month gain of 20%. median value of attached home or a condo in Indian Wells, $472,000. La Quinta up 19.5%, $405,000. These are much less expensive. They're much smaller homes, by the way. And none of these have broken through to their all-time highs they made in 2006. But a very good gain across the boards. Only a couple of cities are lagging, Indio and Cathedral City, but really they have a very small attached home market. So this is not very significant here, these numbers. Now, sales. We covered price. Prices were fantastic last year. How about home sales? This is a picture of total home sales going back to 2010. Includes detached and attached homes. Normally speaking, if we come up to more recent times, we were averaging about 10,000 homes sold a year in the valley, in the 9 cities. 2017, it was about 10,388, then 10,309, 10,000 last year. This year, it was 11,332. So in 1 year, we had 1,277 more units sold last year than the previous year. Remember the tub? Okay. So we had more, the sink, the drain of the tub was at a more rapid rate than it was before. At 1,277 units came out of that tub of water faster than normal. And obviously it wasn't replaced with new homes coming in. And as you'll see, that's why inventory is down. So total sales rose 13% here. And in dollar terms, dollar sales, which represent commission primarily, were up 31% to $6.5 billion in home sales in the Coachella Valley last year. That's very high and at a record level, really, going back as far back as you want. Let's go back to the next slide. I think we do this by city, okay? We're going to compare last year's sales to the previous year's sales by city, and we rank them left to right by the size of the sales increase. The city with the largest sales increase was La Quinta. It went from 1,478 units sold in 2019 to 1,933 units sold, followed by Palm Springs. These two have been the darlings of the housing market this year, and it registers in the sales increase. Rancho Mirage also was very strong last year, large sales increase. Now let's look at a pattern here. This is important. We'll verify it with other statistics, but notice that the highest sales increases were in the cities of La Quinta, Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert. Now, if you come over here to the right, where there was a very small sales increase, actually a sales decline, Desert Hot Springs, which has lower priced homes, actually had fewer homes sold. It went from 646 to 571. So that is, remember that conclusion that the home sales or the interest last year was primarily the higher price market. Not so much sales in the lower priced areas was muted. It was less than normal. In other words, the tub was emptying at a slower rate, was maintaining its height better in the lower price market. So this is one of the facts that led to that conclusion. Now let's take a look at this by housing type and also by price bracket. The 2020 sales increase was in single family residences, not the attached homes. So we're going to break the sales number, that 11,000 some odd, 300 and some odd sales by single family residences or attached homes. There was an 18% increase in the sales of single family detached homes, 3% in attached. Effectively, no change in sales last year in the attached market, condo market, an 18% increase in the detached market. So we can see right there that last year's sales increase was in the detached home market, not the attached market. Now let's take a look at the numbers broken down by price range. Sales by price bracket. We have 5 price brackets: under 300,000, 300 to 6, 600 to $1 million, million to 2 million, and over 2 million. Notice in the under 300,000, sales were down 19%. In the 3 to 600, they were up 21%. In the 600 to a million range, up 40, almost 50%. Let's call that 50%. And in the million to 2 million range, up 62%. So what does this tell us? This tells us exactly what we stated before. This is the evidence that supported our statement or conclusion in that summary, that the sales increase wasn't in the lower priced homes. Matter of fact, in many cases, it was lower in the low priced homes, but the primary sales increase was in the higher priced areas, okay? Now let's go to the next slide. Inventory. So we've covered price, sales, inventory, inventory, inventory. That's what the name of this presentation is all about, okay? What's happening now to inventory and what lies ahead? I'm going to show you currently a history of inventory going back, I think 11 years now. And I'll spend time on this because this is rather complicated, and I want you to fully understand what you're looking at. This is 11 years of time. January 2010, January 2011, January 2012. And of course, these are the inventories in between the Januaries. So this is a monthly inventory count going all the way back 11 years. Notice a few things. Notice the seasonal pattern. The highs in inventory almost every year, going back as far as you want, always occurred in March. And the lows generally occurred in September. The range between the high and the low is generally 40%. So it's not an insignificant expansion and contraction of inventory. It's a 40% move up and down, absorption and expansion in inventory seasonally. But what I want to point out, besides this very low number of 1507, that was the inventory at the end of the year. That was January 1st, beginning of the new year. Prior year, it was 20, almost 30. Let's call that 30. It went from 30,000, 3,000 to 1,500, okay? It dropped 50%. Well, it had already been coming down, so some of that might have been the overall downward pattern. But notice the seasonal inventory pattern broke down in 2020. That has to be the COVID effect. There's no reason why we would break a seasonal pattern. A seasonal pattern should say from here, we should have risen back up inventory-wise. It didn't. It came down to this low level. Now, this is very important. What's the cause of this? We think it's overwhelmingly due to the fact of the pandemic. It's not an internal housing market thing. It's something that outside the housing market. And that's important because once that thing ends, this pandemic ends, we should see a surge back, okay? And then some. How far back? Let's say conservatively up to 3,500 again, okay? Right now, I'm not sure if I said it. If I did, I'll repeat it. Currently, I think the inventory is about 1,100. So it's come down just in a couple of months from 15 to 1,100. Now, to show you what this means from another perspective, I'm going to show you a month of sales ratio over the same time period. Month of sales ratio is taking inventory, dividing it by the sales rate. So if you have low inventory and a high sales rate, you have a low ratio, okay? And it's expressed in terms of months. It's how many months it would take at the current sales rate to liquidate that entire inventory. And normally it used to be at 4 months and 5 months and 6 months. It's down to 1.4, lowest ratio in history. In other words, at the current sales rate and the low inventory, it would only take 1.5 months to sell out the entire inventory, when it used to take maybe 5 months. Now let's take a look at this from a different point of view, which is, before I do that, I want to show you the consequences of this. The consequences of low inventory and high demand like that is creating a situation we haven't seen for some time, and it's shown by this chart. What is this? This is the percent of homes selling above list price. Now, you can only get homes selling above list price if there's bidding wars. Multiple buyers want to buy that home. If there's just one buyer, as often is the case, and not too many people want to buy a home, they're going to pay list price or below. They'll negotiate a price slightly below, and the seller will generally agree. And so generally, prices sell below list. And And on average, 10% of homes sold about at list price. In other words, 1 out of 10 sold at list, the other one sold at a discount. That has recently jumped to 22%. That's almost, that's 4.5. 1 out of every 4.5 sales is now selling over the asking price. That is the definite result of low inventory and the bidding, and that's what's driving home prices higher. Okay, bidding wars, it's boom, boom, you move it higher. Okay, so now I want to show you by city that month of sales ratio by city. Coachella, 1.5. They're low across the boards, every city. Palm Springs, 1.2 months. India, 1.4. Cathedral City, 1.2 months. There's no city that's out of whack here. Even Rancho Mirage, 2 months. Normally, Rancho Mirage is almost always at 7 or 8 months. So this low inventory and high demand, and Indian Wells, almost 10 months is not abnormal, down to 3 months. So this phenomena is occurring across the entire region, okay, and it is it's the driving force about behind the price movements. So now, inventory is down equally in all price ranges. Now we're going to take a look at those inventory numbers and how much is down in the different price brackets. Okay, we have the 5 price brackets again. This is inventory on January 1st of this year against what the inventory number was January 1st a year ago. And what I'm showing you here is that this inventory, the drop of the tub level compared to the previous year, is not in certain price ranges. It's across the entire price spectrum. Under 300,000, it's down 52%. 300 to 600,000, down 51%. 600 to a million, down 52%. That's as even as you're going to get. Million to 2 million, down 45%. So that's just, again, evidence behind that statement that the inventory drop is across the price spectrum. And higher priced homes. So what's the conclusion? Higher priced homes, same or slightly higher new listings, but much higher sales. What are we getting at here? To have this occur in the higher priced homes, we know the sales rate's up, so we must have about the same number of new listings. Low priced homes, we know sales are down, what they were like a year ago, maybe slightly lower, okay, but they have a very low number of new listings. And again, the surprising result, which I haven't shown you, but we did it in the office, inventory is down equally for both occupied homes, owner-occupied, and remote owner markets. Okay, now new listings. And again, I'm showing the evidence to show you that the new listings were not down in the higher priced homes. They were down in the lower priced homes. And we compare the number of new listings. For example, in 2019, there were 945 new listings in Desert Hot Springs for the whole year. Last year, there was 662. New listings were down almost 30%. Coachella, Cathedral City, these lower price cities, all had the number of new listings down. That means homeowners didn't want to sell, probably because they didn't want people coming through. And the higher priced areas, Rancho Mirage, Indian Wells, had almost the same number of new listings as the previous year. So this is the evidence supporting those conclusions in the summary. I want to be complete and show you the facts behind these. They're just not pulled out of the sky. They're not our opinion. They're based on hard facts, okay? Now, as far as the price brackets, again, the same thing. You'll find the same conclusion here by the number of new listings. Again, it is the number of new listings is down in the lower price brackets as we would expect, up or the same in the higher price brackets. Now, the question is, will the new home market supply inventory? That's a very important question. I'm going to show you a chart that very few people have seen. It shows you total sales by MLS or resales and new home sales. Resales are the dark color. New home sales are the lighter color, going back to 2000. Going to 2000 all the way here, 2007, 2009, 2012, all the way over to last year. you can see we had really the highest total sales we'd had since 2005. But notice that the component of new homes, which is this lighter color, is much smaller than it was back around the turn of the century. Yes. And the question is, will this come up? And the supply of homes obviously needs a supply of homes to get new home sales. Will that supply add to the supply of homes for sale? No. I'm going to show you last year's new home market. This is MLS sales, new home sales in each one of the cities. Total sales, 46% of the Coachella market were new homes, 21% in Indio. That's 1 out of 5 homes sold in Indio were new homes, 17.6%. Very few new homes in Bermuda Dunes, Palm Desert, La Quinta, Indian Wells is about 8%. One of our sponsors is the main contributor to that, Toscana. Very important, beautiful complex, by the way. If you haven't been over there to see Toscana, it's absolutely gorgeous. And these are the communities leading to these numbers here. We wanted to show you that. A lot of agents don't know what's going on in the new home market, so these numbers will provide that. This is our forecast for next year. We took a look at all the available lots. Vic Cooper, my partner, does an excellent job, very detailed count of all the new homes that are being sold and the lots available. We actually come up with fewer new homes sold this year than last year because a lot of availability. It's going to take time to get that up. So we can expect no help from the new home market in this inventory situation. So I want to go over the summary real quick again now that you know the foundation behind it. Maybe it'll make more sense. Higher sales and record low inventory are causing bidding wars and surging home prices. Inventory is low in all cities and price ranges, but for different reasons. Sales are up in high-priced homes, unchanged in lower-priced homes. New listings are down in low-priced homes, and the same or higher in high-priced homes. Okay. Surprisingly, inventory is down equally in both owner-occupied and remote owner markets. The effect of CLR, COVID listing reluctance. That is the reluctance of people to open their homes or list a home at this time because exposure to the COVID virus. But that's leading to a pent-up listing demand. Never get that right. You can't have listing demand, demand of supply, you know, so it's that should be a pent-up demand for new listings coming aboard very soon once the vaccine bites and takes effect. Again, prepare. This is your opportunity to prepare ahead of time. You've got 6 to 8 months here to position yourself in a marketing way to capture these new listings that should come aboard over the next year and a half. It's a unique opportunity. Same home price. Home prices should remain firm even with the surge in listings. There are no signs yet of a housing bubble. New home construction 2021 will still not yet fill Valley inventory shortfalls. So that's the summary of our presentation. We're actually encouraged by it because anytime you can see an opportunity coming, a business opportunity, it's very encouraging. So it's how to take advantage of it that becomes your challenge. Maybe somewhere along this line this year we can address various ways you can position yourself or market yourself to help you gain some of these listings. So that's my presentation. And I want to now turn it over to the one and only Walter Neal. Most of you know him. He's been a main contributor and a sponsor to these Market Watch seminars, especially the Tale of 9 Cities. If you need it, we always go to him. We need an expert on the interest rate market, the mortgage market. So I'd like to turn the presentation over now to Walter Neal.
Well, thank you for attending another Market Watch event. It's unfortunate that we can't get together to study the market data and celebrate together. But with the technology, at least we still get to host these events and pass on this educational opportunity to all of you to assist in your business and with your referral partners. So looking forward to touching on 2 really important topics today for all of you. One is the affordability myth, which is really important information for you to get out to your buyers and sellers in the communities you support, because we don't want false data floating around. And the second part of my presentation will be the 2021 housing and interest rate outlook, which will talk about interest rates, debt, and where we expect things to go in 2021, so that you may not have as many surprises with things that might unfold throughout the year. So let's just dive right into it. So affordability, if you listen to the media, you would think affordability is at an all-time low. You would think there's a housing crisis coming. No one can afford to buy a home. That's just not the reality of the facts. It's actually quite the opposite. And if you look at this chart here, anything over 100% is favorable. So you can see 2004, 5, 6, 7, and 8, when prices were really, really high and affordability was low, it's below this line. But look where affordability is right now in the first quarter of 2020. It's at one of the highest points we've seen in the last 10 to 12 years. So affordability is great. And home ownership is very, very attainable. But we have to make sure we're looking at the right metrics. Because if you're only looking at home appreciation as a metric and you think prices are going up, so it must be less affordable, well, that's not actually correct. And I know here in the desert, as Michael pointed out, we had a 22% increase in median home price. Once again, that is not appreciation. That is median home price. Appreciation in the desert was around 7% last year. Okay, so just because prices are going up doesn't mean things are less affordable. So I want to dive in and give you very specific examples so that you can go out in the community and you can educate people that now is a good time to buy and that things are very affordable. So here's an example. We got this data from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. The average person who qualified for a loan with Fannie Freddie was making $1,000 a month mortgage payment. And to make that $1,000 a month mortgage payment, they needed to make $5,000 a month in income. Because a mortgage payment is just one expense people have. They've got their property taxes, their insurance on the home. They've got, their normal spending routine. They've got cars and things along those lines. So $5,000 a month, that's what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac gave us. So let's take this a step further. If there was a 5% rise in prices from last year to this year, that would mean that a buyer who bought in 2020 would pay $50 more a month in a mortgage payment compared to last year. So yes, they are spending more money because the prices are going up. But the thing we need to look at, and one of the most important pieces of affordability, is income, what people are making. And if incomes are up just 1%, okay, and by the way, incomes are up 6% year over year across the country, and it was only up 1%, so 1/6 of what it was, then that means the income for that borrower would be $5,050, which means it would offset the increase in mortgage payment with only a 1% increase in income. And I just told you there was an increase of 6% year over year. And so with higher incomes, it's more affordable for people to buy homes. So let's take this a step further. If you were to buy a home in the fourth quarter of 2020, you would have paid $350,000 for that home. And that's because prices raised 7% from 2019 to 2020. So that same home in 2019 would have cost $327,000. But you waited to buy it to 2020 and it costed $350,000. So you paid about $23,000 more for that home. But let's take it to another level here. Let's look at the loan amount based on those sales prices. So if you would have taken a 90% loan, that means you only put down 10%. By the way, you put down 10% last year and you bought a home and there was 7% appreciation, you made 70% of your money. That's a pretty good investment. But the loan amount last year had been $294,400. And the loan amount for the first quarter this year would be $315,000. That's a increase in loan of $20,600. Once again, just because it's a higher loan doesn't mean it's less affordable. Let's take interest rate into play. If you bought a home last year in the fourth quarter 19, you would have gotten 3 3/4% on your rate. If you buy a home in the fourth quarter of 2020, you would have got 2 3/4 on your rate. And that's where rates are today as well. So you saved 1% in rate, which makes affordability much, much greater. Let's take it a step further to make sure we're giving an accurate picture. What is the mortgage payment based on 3 3/4 for the price home of 2019 compared to the mortgage payment on the price home of 2020? You're at $1,363 a month for principal and interest last year in the fourth quarter, and $1,286 a month in the last quarter of last year, which means it's $77 less expensive to buy a home in the fourth quarter of 2020 than 2019. Now, I think most people would have thought that's not possible, but it is possible because of interest rates. So it's more affordable to buy, but based on rates. But let's go a step further because we want a clear and accurate picture. If you only put down 90%, there is mortgage insurance on these loans. So yes, because you borrowed more money, your mortgage insurance in 2020 would have been $8 higher. So let's say the savings isn't 77, it's actually 69, it's $8 less, right? Well, there's always critics out there. Well, but hold on, Walt. The total payment, you're right, went from $1,476 to $1,401, which is $69 savings, but the client had to put down more money, so that makes it less affordable. Well, that's not actually correct, and let me explain. So the down payment was $32,000 fourth quarter of 2019 because the price was less. And the down payment was more in the fourth quarter of 2020 because the price was more. And it was more by $2,290. But if you took the price difference and you amortize it into a loan, and everyone's worried about what their payment is, that's $10 a month. $10 a month. So if you're $69 less expensive in the fourth quarter of 2020 with increased prices, and you take $10 off 69, you're still $59 better off, which makes home affordability better today than it was last year. Taking this one step further, let's look at monthly income. As I talked about, you only need a 1% increase to offset the appreciation gain. Well, I talked about a 6% year-over-year increase. It was actually 5.9. So if you made $5,000 last quarter of 2019, your income was actually $5,295 in the fourth quarter of last year. So your payment went down by $59 and you have $295 more in income. Well, that is a dream for a mortgage banker. You make more money, your mortgage payment's less, you're going to qualify for more. So affordability is great. That is a myth that we must put an end to. Affordability is up, it's not down. So let's crush that myth and let's spread the good news. Okay, I always like to talk about this slide in every seminar that I do, and it's the 10-year, 2-year Treasury yield chart. And this looks at accurately predicting the big R word, which is recessions. There's a lot of people who were calling for a recession in 2020, or if it wasn't 2020, definitely 2021. Well, we already know for a fact there was not a recession in 2020, and there's nothing pointing to a recession in 2021. This chart accurately has predicted every recession we've had back to 1976, which is why this chart starts there, because the 2-year and 10-year Treasury, there wasn't an option for 2-year. That came into place in 1976. So what this chart monitors is what the cost of 2-year money is compared to 10-year money. And when 10-year money becomes less expensive to borrow than 2-year money, the chart turns red, okay? And that's not realistic. When you put money into a CD for 10 years, you should get paid more, not more on a 2-year. But that happens when you're in uncertain times, and that's a prediction of recessions to come. You can see August 23rd, 2019, we had a dimple of a red mark that lasted about 4 or 5 days until the Fed came in with QE, quantitative easing, and did some of their creative balance sheet investing. And they pulled us right out of it, and you can see we've come straight up. So it's safe to say, folks, we are not going to be seeing a recession in 2021, because typically once this goes red and stays red for a period of time, a recession follows anywhere from 6 to 18 months. So that is great news. Get the word out as well that there is not a recession coming in 2021. Okay, second part of my presentation is housing and interest rate outlook. And this next slide is a lot of information. And so I'm gonna park on here for a minute, but this slide is gonna set up a lot of what you're gonna see in 2021. So Janet Yellen, she is back, baby. She is the Secretary of Treasury. She just took over that position from Steve Mnuchin in January 26th, okay? And what's important to know about the Secretary of the Treasury, every dollar, every bill that's printed under her watch, she needs a sign. And so you're gonna see a lot of bills signed by Janet Yellen. And by the way, Janet Yellen not only is the first woman Secretary of the Treasury, but as you all maybe know, she was also the first woman of the Fed, where she held that position in a previous job, okay? So she loves spending. Janet Yellen has never met a stimulus package that she has not liked. And so she's going to be not printing a lot of money. Everyone always says, we're just printing money, we're printing money. We're actually not printing money. We're issuing treasury bonds for debt. People buy our debt to give us money. And then we spend that money on our country. So let's not use the word printing. Let's use the word we're issuing debt to collect the money so that we can put stimulus back into the market. But it's really important to understand the dynamic between the Fed, the Secretary of Treasury, and the Fed chair. And so Steve Mnuchin, who's been replaced by Janet Yellen, he was yin and yang to Jerome Powell, who's our current Fed chair. And so sometimes it's nice to have that balance between maybe someone who wants to spend a lot and someone who doesn't want to spend a lot. And so because of Janet Yellen in this position, you've seen a huge rise in gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And that's not by accident, because those are not fiat-based currencies, okay? Those are things that are tangible, you can reach out and touch and hold. So it's going to be very interesting because Steve Mnuchin, he was pushing back on Jerome Powell, because Jerome Powell wanted to do everything. He thinks the Fed should touch everything. The Fed was buying McDonald's bonds, was buying Apple bonds. I don't think McDonald's and Apple needs the support of the federal government, but he was doing it. So because of the relationship between Janet Yellen being more of a blue wave spender, it's going to be very interesting to see where the debt goes. And that's going to be a major part of the presentation, is how this debt's going to play in to 2021. So the concerns about a blue wave spending is debasing the US dollar. So we'll see what impact that has. But there are a lot of positives about this for the real estate community, because the Fed's going to continue the QE buying. It's going to continue to buy treasury bonds and mortgage-backed securities, and they're probably going to roll out yield curve control in 2021, YCC. And that's going to be basically pegging interest rates to a certain mark, and they're going to try to hold them there. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell are successful with ultimately the game plan and the direction they're going. And if they are, you'll continue to see Bitcoin, gold, and silver skyrocket up, as well as real estate. So let's jump into how this debt, this dynamic between the Fed chair and the Secretary of Treasury is going to affect you in 2021. So here's a chart of the mortgage interest rates, which are blue. So the blue line is mortgage interest rates. This goes back almost 40 years. And then the red line is the Fed funds rate. So it's very important to understand the dynamic between the Fed funds rate and mortgage rates, because the Fed funds rates and mortgage rates, they typically go in the same direction, as you can see here. But borrowers, when they lock a loan, they don't have more than 30 to maybe 60 days to lock a loan. And just because the Fed funds rates are low, it doesn't mean rates are going to stay low. So you can see here's an example where the Fed fund rates was going up and mortgage rates were coming down. And here's an example where the Fed fund rates are going down and mortgage rates are going up. But I want to give you two really good examples of how volatile mortgage rates can be, even if the Fed is telling the whole world they're going to keep rates low. Here's a time where Fed funds rates between 2008 and 2016 was zero, did not move. But look what happened to interest rates. It went from 4% to 5 and 8% over that 6-month period. That was a shock to consumers and borrowers, because they're hearing about how low rates are. Look at this one. Here's another one. This was even a bigger jump. It went from 3.5% to 4.75%. So the volatility of rates can change, even if the message out there on the media is the Fed funds rates are going to stay low for the next 3 years. Please, let's educate our consumers and your clients that interest rates are not controlled by the Fed. They're controlled by supply and demand of treasury bonds and inflation. So that's a really important topic to get out so we can break the myth, because I hear from lots of people, well, rates are going to stay low forever because the Fed's going to keep Fed funds at zero. Yes, I agree, rates are going to stay low and will come lower, but it's not because of that. All right, this is a really important topic that is very much misunderstood in the general public, and that is the effect that debt has on interest rate decline. So the blue line on this slide is interest rates. The red line on this slide is debt. And you can see that typically when debt's going up, so debt started coming up in 1980, it went from 2 trillion, and look, we're at over 13 trillion. And what has rates done since 1980 as the debt climbed? It's gone straight down. And there's a reason for that. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example that'll explain the reasoning very simply to you. If a consumer goes out and buys a car, when they buy the car, the dealership makes money. The sales guy makes money. The maker of the car who sold it to the dealership makes money. So it puts money into the system and causes economic activity. Okay, but the problem is the debt eventually takes over, because the person who buys the car then has to make debt payments, has to make payments on that car. And that slows what we love to call the velocity of money. And so if people are all spending their money on debt, they can't spend their money in the economy, and the velocity of money doesn't change hands as frequently. And so if we are issuing debt, not printing, but issuing debt, and the debt keeps going up, that is a sign that interest rates are going to continue to stay low. And this is something we've seen over and over again in history. I'll give you a couple examples. Here's an example of France, going back to 1998. Once again, look at the rates coming down in France, and look at France's debts coming up. Same thing in Japan. Look at Japan's debt going up, and look at Japan's rates coming down. Same thing in Italy. Look at the interest rates. Boom, flop, just fell off a cliff. Look at their debt going up. This is all government debt. And the same thing in the UK. So this is common. What the United States is doing is common within all governments. The higher the debt, the lower the rates, which will be very good for real estate, because it'll keep what? Affordability at high levels. Okay. Now rates isn't the only thing. If people start making less money, that affects. But if we keep low rates, affordability will be high, and your clients will be able to qualify for more and buy homes. I hope that was helpful to understand how debt really plays into mortgage rates. Okay, so here's a couple recaps. Rates will remain low, but inflation's going to be pressured by all the spending that's happening right now from the Secretary of Treasury and the Fed. But that inflation will eventually be pressured lower because of the debt, which I spoke about, and the technology. So technology will play into it as well. So that's really important to understand that piece. Also, the labor force. Right now, 10 million people are still out of work. That creates supply. And there's what's called a supply chain. And a lot of you might have seen it when you're trying to build a home, you're trying to buy products, you can't get it. And when you can't get products, just like you can't get a home, there's no listings, prices go up. So prices of goods are going up, which is inflationary. But this is a very brief moment in 2021 when you're going to see inflationary prices, because as COVID recovers, as people get back to work and the supply chain opens up and there's more product, you're going to see the prices come back down. So that'll help to keep inflation low, which is positive for the Fed to help keep buying debt to keep rates low. So that's how the supply chain is affecting interest rates and inflation. Additional spending under the new administration will increase supply of treasuries to be sold. I spoke about that. An increased sale of debt will also keep a ceiling on interest rates. Rates will likely bump higher before resuming downtrend. Most people right now are calling for higher rates. We have had an uptick in rates over the last month. A lot of people don't know about it, but they are on the way up. I think they'll continue to rise maybe for another 30 to 60 days, but not aggressively. But then I think you're going to see them plateau and come back down even lower later into 2021. So the interest rates will remain low, but they will be a little volatile. So it's important that people understand that from month to month, you will have volatility in interest rates. Okay, this is an amazing chart to inspire all of us in real estate that good times are still to come and that this train is going to keep rolling. Because what we've got here is the average age of a first-time home buyer is 33 years old. So this is when a 33-year-old person would have been born 33 years ago. And this chart shows the births every year of how many people were born that year. And so you can see a 33-year-old buyer right here. Look at the increase in births the following year. And look at the major increase in births the following year after that. And look at the major increase in births after that. And so you're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers coming into this market, and the average age is 33, and that first-time home buyer market is going to grow extraordinarily over the next 4 years. And those are going to be the buyers that are buying your listings and then buying other homes when the listings sell. So there is a lot of momentum built up over the next 2 or 3 years with first-time home buyers coming to this market. So this is a very positive trend and something I think is going to carry us through a very successful real estate market over the next couple of years. All right, so let's talk about the Fed at zero, different than mortgage rates. So this has to do with new construction. So because of COVID, and Michael touched on this as well, that new construction is a very small piece of our market. Well, you can see what new construction was. This goes back to 2010, and you can see new construction climbing. How many units? 1,000 units. So in 2000 and let's say 19, about 1,200 units. And in 2020, we're expecting 1,600 units. And look at it just drop off a cliff. This was not an error with my marker. This was because of the COVID shutdown. And so because of new construction not coming to the market to the pace it was supposed to, it's making inventory even less and causing even a more increase on prices. So there is a reason why new construction is slow, and it's not going to rebound for a year or two. And we need to get that supply chain back so the price of building homes is more affordable as well, because the cost to construct right now is more expensive than builders want it to be. So the entry level is going to go up. But we talked about that. Even if the entry level goes up, it still is going to be affordable as long as everything else stays in place with low rates and increased wages per week. Okay, this is a really important topic as well that a lot of people talk about, and it's vacancies and how vacancies drive not only the amount of listings, but the value of real estate. So if you were to own 4 homes, one's your primary and 3 are rentals, and 3 of the rentals sit empty for 6 months out of the year, and you're writing that check to cover those rental properties, you're going to get home one day and you're going to be talking to your spouse, and you're going to say, you know what, let's sell those homes. We can't rent them out. We're losing money. It just doesn't make sense. Airbnb is so hard to fight the cities and, the home away. And so if vacancies are low, people are going to sell their homes. But look where we are with vacancies right now. This goes back to 1980. Each one of these blue squares every 10 years is the census being done. And look, we're at an all-time low going back to 1980. Well, I guess you could say might be tied with 1981, 82. And so with vacancies low, investors are not going to put their homes up to sell, so inventory is going to stay low, and they're going to continue to rent them out, especially because rents are up. We're up 2% last year, and they're expected to go up another 2% this year. And so don't expect the investors to flood the market with listings in 2021, even though we've got the CLR effect, the COVID listing reluctance. I don't think people are going to turn in that income they're getting until the vacancies, tick up a little bit. So if we start to see vacancies tick up in this range, then I would expect to see listings pick up from investors. So this is an important thing to just monitor as well. And I'll continue to share this report in future so you can see the uptick. All right, record low inventory. I think everyone knows this. I'm Captain Obvious here talking about it again, but just to show you, 2007, when we had this real estate crash, look how high we were at 3.7 million. This is national, by the way, not the desert. So we had a real estate bubble here. We obviously had one back in the 80s, the same exact chart that Michael showed you. But look where we are here, 1.28 million. This is a national level. I think in the desert, Mike said we're down to 1,100 as of today. So inventory is going to stay low, and you should see real estate values continue to move up based on low inventory and high home affordability. So is it a good time to buy? Interest rates will be very favorable. So yes, it's a great time to buy because affordability is at an all-time high. And if you can buy, you want to buy. If you can't buy, like back in 04, 05, 06, 07, because you couldn't afford to do it, then you can't buy. But everyone would want to buy if they could. So yes, interest rates remain favorable, and it's still a good time to buy on affordability. High demand and tight supply point to 6% appreciation in 2021. So real estate values will continue to rise in 2021 which should not scare your buyers in waiting, because if they wait to 2022, you don't know what's going to happen with affordability. And if it goes up 6%, they're leaving money on the table. So yes, we are expecting and forecasting 6% appreciation in 2021. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope you guys found this information useful. I know that for all of my colleagues at Franklin Loan Center, we appreciate all of you and all the support you've given us. We are here to support you and help you in any way. If it's giving brief education, things like this, or helping your buyers and sellers answer questions, we are here to support you. We want to wish you a healthy and joyful 2021. We can't wait to see all the success you all have. Have a great day.
Thank you, Walter. That was extremely informative and good news for everybody. We have a couple questions for you both before we finish today. So I'm going to start with the first question for Mike. Mike, when do you see the frenzy subsiding?
Well, that's a good question. Some of the frenzy is driven by the lack of supply. People think if they don't buy, they're going to miss out with fewer and fewer homes on the market. I don't think it's going to, I think it'll dry up a little bit going into this year. It's hard to keep that high rate of sales, but it could stay that high. I think the fervor is over. Prices, I think Walt's absolutely right. I think 6% would be actually probably the minimum expectation this year. We're kind of expecting another maybe double digit again, possibly. Slowly, they won't just suddenly drop off. It will change, I think, slowly this year.
Thank you. Walter, this one's for you. What challenges are you seeing in the appraisal process?
Oh, well, that's a great question. Obviously, when you have increasing real estate values, that does make the job for the appraiser more difficult because they do have to use comparable sales. And every time a home sells in a neighborhood, the next person wants to sell it higher than that person. And so, you get this increase rise in prices really, really quickly. They have to find a couple comparable sales to support the value. And so the appraisers have a difficult job. But one thing we can do to help your buyers to pay over maybe list price is we have what's called a bid ask worksheet. And sometimes if you can just show the bar, yes, you are going to pay a little bit over the list price, but based on appreciation forecasts over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, this is what your appreciation looks like in 4 to 5 years from now. And so why would you not buy now, take advantage and get in? Because 5 years from now, yeah, maybe you're going to have 15 grand less in equity, but you're still going to have to call it 100 grand in equity. So would you take 100 and not take 85? And so I think it's important for the real estate community to educate the buyers is that typically buying a home, that's a lifestyle. It's for their family to live in. And that's something they need. And buying real estate long-term is always going to be profitable. So it's just getting over that mental hurdle for the borrowers. And so we can, if you would like us to help you with that bid ask worksheet, it outlines it really clearly and might help your clients get over that hump, that mental pain more. Hope that helps.
That's helpful, Walter. Mike, the next question is for you. Do we anticipate inventory increasing during 2021?
Yes, that was pretty much the whole point of the presentation. Now, the question is when? First, we'd have to have the vaccine spread out enough where people started coming out of their homes and feeling comfortable. We're already seeing that where I live, which is in a senior community. We got ours first, and people are starting to get more relaxed about it. They're not as worried. When that gets to the point where, let's say 80% of the people feel comfortable letting people into their homes again and going out and shopping around and looking around, maybe with masks initially, but once the fear of getting it disappears, you don't care as much, and you relax. So I think that I would think listings will stay muted going into maybe midsummer. Now, they're normally low in midsummer anyway, so it's going to have to go against the seasonal trend, but I think this pent-up supply that wants to come out, that has been hold on, will start coming out later this summer, and maybe by November, October, let's say October, November, December, we're going to see kind of a large surge, I think, going into later in this year.
Thanks, Mike. Walter, this one's for you. I hear rates are low, but there seems to be a wide range of interest rates.
Yeah, I could do a whole seminar on that question, but to keep it short, purchase rates are going to be lower than refinances. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, FHFA, put in a fee for all refinances that went in place as of January. They tried to put in place October. It was extended to January. So refinance rates are sometimes as much as a quarter higher than purchase rates. So do realize that if you're talking to your borrowers and they got a certain rate on a purchase, they might not expect to get that same rate on a refinance. Also realize that there is volatility in rates, as I spoke about, and you could have a client who 60 days ago with the same criteria got one rate, and 60 days later, another client gets 3/8 higher. There is volatility in rates, as well as the specifics of the loan. An investment property typically is about 0.5% higher in rate than a second home. Second and primaries are typically pretty close if the FICO scores are good. If not, primary and second homes can be different by 1/4 to 1/2. Condos. So there's a lot that goes into pricing out a loan, just like there's a lot that goes into agents when you're taking listings and figuring out what to list a home for. You're looking at the view of the house, you're looking at the upgrades of the house, you're looking at the zip code of the house. There's lots of things, the street noise, everything. Okay, if there's an empty lot next to you, well, there's a lot of things that go into what work. There's a lot of things that go into judging the risk of a loan, and so that's where you really have to just defer to the experts, the mortgage bankers, and let them quote the rates, and try not to challenge it because there's most likely a reason for it, especially because the laws today restrict loan officers or mortgage bankers from charging higher rates and making more money. They're capped anyway. So they're always going to try to give their best rate. So I know that was a mouthful, but I hope that answered the question. And before I let you guys go, on the screen, you can see here our next market watch. Save the date is Tuesday, April 27th. I hope you guys can attend. We work really hard on trying to make sure that this information is helpful and useful and makes a difference for you. If there's something that you would like to ask me personally, please email me. If you want to email a loan rep at Franklin Loan Center, they can forward it to me. I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. You all have a blessed 2021.
Thanks, Walter. I actually have one more question for you, Mike. The question is the market going to dip in pricing?
No, I can give a pretty firm answer to that. The equation, supply and demand equation, that determines prices. How much supply of homes versus how much demand, and that is overwhelmingly right now upward. These bidding wars are not going to disappear, and we don't see any relief on inventory coming until later next year. So the upward pressure on home prices should continue for at least the first half to maybe 3/4 of this year. So no problem this year. Nothing in the.
So people haven't missed the boat. They can still take advantage of the market. And
no, they have not missed the boat. Yeah.
Great. Thank you both so much.
It is a good time to buy.
It is. Yes.
Thanks, guys. We all appreciate the information, the data, and it's always wonderful to hear you both. You know, you're such great experts, so thank you. With that, we're going to also thank our corporate sponsors of Market Watch, who are Sunrise Company, Andalusia Country Club, Toscana Country Club, Franklin Loan Center, Palm Springs Regional Association of Realtors, and California Desert Association of Realtors. On behalf of Palm Springs Life, thank you all so much for joining us for Market Watch. We look forward to seeing you on April 27th. Thanks again, guys. Great job.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.